Well, Jon, thank you for joining. I mean, gosh, last year we had EMC. We met in person then, and we've just really been connected on the show. We've been on the show a few times, so excited to have you here in person. I want to talk about Exhibitor Live first. This isn't your first time attending, is it?
Second.
Okay. And this year, what is it that you're really hoping to get out of it?
So for me, it's more of that connection. I mean, it's always connection. As you've been in the industry for several years, you've kind of gotten the tools that you need for your toolkit. So it's more making those connections, talking about the tribe. How are we being able to make that connection with like-minded individuals so that we can share, have that knowledge sharing. So it's really just being able to have that opportunity to learn, have that opportunity to connect, see what's happening in the market. Is it that we're all focusing on AI, or is it that we're all still having the same issues when it comes to staff training or measuring? So for me, it's more of that, how can I connect with individuals? Obviously this year speaking, but the speaking approach that I've done with my session has been more, how can I help you on your journey with events? You know, just because I work for Lenovo doesn't mean that you have the issue. The issues are all the same, right?
Sure.
So it's something that we all work towards, and sharing my experience, I hope that individuals have that aha moment.
You feel a lot less alone when you're in a group with people that have dealt with a lot of similar challenges along the way. So you talked about two challenges that popped up was, you know, proving ROI, right?
Yep.
And then also staffing. Do you want to talk about those? Are there any other core challenges you feel event marketers are dealing with?
I think those are the basis. I think, you know, proving ROI is something that we're always having to do. It's how are we leading with data? You know, we all have to prove ROI. We all have to justify what we do, but how do we get better at creating those experiences or those activations that point towards the data? Ultimately, data will set us free. And so if we have that ability to tell the story as we're working with our C-suite or our internal leadership and let them know, hey, this is, you know, what we were able to accomplish while we were at the event, and, you know, here's the pipeline that we've created. You know me, it's data's always front of mind.
Staffing. That seemed to be a problem?
Staffing is one of those.
Or is it never?
It's always a problem.
Never goes away.
I was in a session earlier with Intel, and they were talking about how they have the same issues. They're working with other agencies to help them, and they've built a great program. So, not to say that our sales team isn't doing what they're doing, but it's always a learning opportunity for them, and to give them the guardrails and say, hey, you're doing great, but here's what we could be doing better. You know, there's a little bit of an improvement that they have to continue what they're doing, because ultimately when we're at the events, we're all working towards that collective goal. And so how do we incentivize our sales team through reminders or trainings or incentives? Hey, you know, we want to make sure that we are here for a reason and we're having those quality conversations. Because the last thing we want is a customer to come to our booth or at the event and they see us on our phone.
Sure, yeah. It's all about the experience, right? It's the building the relationships. And if you're not showing it's all body language, psychology, you know, the flow, all of the functionality of the booth and where people are standing. Actually, Charles Papas from Exhibitor, he's a writer. He came in and we were talking about this too, the psychological component of having people on their phones or just standing there guarding it, right?
Yep.
You know, so how do you really overcome all of that? That's all really important. Very interesting. All right. I want to get into, I know you're a technology company, but when you look at technology for events and event marketing, where do you see the future going with that?
Well, I mean, I think AI and some form of chat GPT or some AI tool will always be there. I think it's Jasper, but some type of tool will always be at our disposal. And if you're not using AI in some form of fashion, not necessarily to do the work, but to help with budgets or creative, I think those tools will help us be more efficient at what we do. So it's not necessarily it's replacing us. It's more we have these tools when it comes to having to develop a brief or, you know, help with the budget that we can use so that we're focused on that mission, that strategy.
That's really good tactical advice, absolutely. How about inside a booth, right? And when you're out there exhibiting, what are some trends or some technologies or even just a new approach that you are trying to implement on the floor?
It's not necessarily a technology, but we're doing more to drive people to the booth. It's not necessarily a technology approach, but we're looking at ways that we can drive and create that experience in the booth. So it's, you know, for an upcoming event, and what we always look at is what can we do differently. We actually have a sneaker artist that's coming in to hand paint sneakers.
Oh, no way.
So that they can raffle that off at the event,
cool.
right? So it's a way for us, because this event that we're doing, we've never been to.
Sure.
So it's like, how do we put our foot figuratively and metaphorically down. And so that's kind of one of the things that we thought about. Let's use a local artist, incentivize people, get them to the booth, have that conversations, but then, here's this giveaway. So it's more of the getting people to the booth.
Makes a splash too, and it's memorable. It's all about the memorable experience. You walk away and you're like, Lenovo really crushed it.
Yep.
That's really awesome. So let's look right back earlier in your career. What would be some advice that you would give early in their career event marketer, or to your younger self? What would you say?
I would say don't be afraid to ask questions, right? I mean, it's when I've looked back, this is my second year here. My first year was 2015, so it's been almost 10 years that I haven't been back, and that person then versus now is, very more reserved. And I feel like a lot of event professionals are reserved because they're more like the stage crew, putting everything behind the scenes
They're
and make
the
it work.
doers.
Right? And so move from doers to strategists. Don't just, work on the booth or the graphics, but ask the questions, the higher level questions from what's our overall strategy? Why are we doing this? What are the objectives? Whereas my first year and when I started my career, it was like, okay, well, I know that I have to do this event. Here's my checklist. It's good to have that checklist, but also elevate your thinking.
When you're able to get a seat at the table, utilize that,
Yep.
right? And take what you're learning from the metrics that stakeholders are trying to accomplish, and then apply that into events, and then at the end be able to say, look what we did.
Well, because you have to have that alignment between, events can be a catalyst for driving business outcomes, but only when you have those conversations with sales, with marketing, with executive leaders. If you bring them on and weave them into what you're doing, your life will be a lot easier.
Sustainability is another hot topic.
Yep.
What's your take?
It's hard. I mean, it depends on where we're working. So with what we do, it's a global role. So it's always top of mind. I'm not saying it's not, but what EMEA does is not necessarily what North America will do. And what I mean by that is when we go and do shows globally, in Europe specifically, we have to track our carbon offset. Whereas for North America, we don't have, and that's more of the North America regulations. Like there's not a huge regulation right now with carbon offsets coming. So it's being aware of what we're doing to either offset that carbon when we set up booths, or as we look at the structures, making them more burning and churning, so to speak.
Sure.
Rental. Look at like that longevity, but then that longevity of that booth, it's sitting in storage. Is it still being used? Is it just sitting there until the annual show? Right. So I mean, event that we're doing back to Germany, we're reusing that booth asset that has been used previously. So it helps us use what's already there, reduces our overall budget, and we can make sure that booth that's been developed can get greater life cycle.
That's really smart. All right, we started talking about North America versus, globally. What would be a few things, or even just one thing that you wish that North America would adapt from what you see out there globally at their trade shows here?
Oof. I don't even know if I have an answer for that one. I think back to sustainability. I think more sustainable practices. Now, there's sustainable practices in place with, Freeman. They have the carpet that is reused. It's not like as though you don't see that as an exhibitor, but I think more sustainable practices, I would say, even with, this is a controversial comment, but badges. Do you actually need them?
I don't think that's controversial at all.
Well, some might say that, the badge is the key for everything. You put the agenda on the back, QR code, so I get it, but I think lanyards and badges can be easily, there can be better ways for creation of badges.
Exhibitor Live did a great thing this year. It's not in plastic. It's not in the plastic sleeve, right? It's just the paper. Yep, more sustainable there. Okay, so sustainability.
I would say so.
Any other trends that you feel like, any other trends that event marketers you think should be focused on in their career in the next couple of years?
I think short term, definitely, if you're not using AI, start using AI. And you can do a Google search that, what are the AI tools that I could be using? I was in a session yesterday that had a pie chart of all of the AI tools. And when I see that, I'm like, there's so many things that I'm not even aware of. So definitely short term, focus on what we can be using with AI. If you're not using AI, it's one of those age-old, you're going to set yourself back if you're not knowing. And I think overall strategy, start thinking about what ask the questions for leadership on what's the strategy, what are we doing. A lot of the sessions that I've been in today, it's still the same issues that what we saw in 2015, from how do we measure, how do we budget, what tools do we want to use for project management.
Sure.
So that's a good thing and a bad thing, but I definitely would say AI and then shifting that mindset to being more strategy.
Those are really good, important pieces to focus on. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.